Welcome to West Germany in the mid-1970s. Our layout is based on the Deutsches Bundesbahn, the German Federal Railways, set in the hills and forests of Rhineland-Pfalz. BD Kaiserslautern is a fictional name, the BD standing for Bundesdirektion, one of the administrative units of the Deutsches Bundesbahn. Layout is proto-freelance, modeled in N-scale, and fills a room of about 12 by 26 feet. It's inspired by my memories from when I lived there, courtesy of my dad's assignment with the U.S. Air Force. The mid-1970s were the last days of steam in West Germany and the beginning of high-speed intercity expresses. The layout has two main lines, the Alsensbahn and the Pfalzerbahn, which we will explore in more detail. The Alsentalbahn was the first section of the layout I built. The prototype runs from Bingerbrook in the north to Kaiserslautern in the south, with a connection to Hochspeyer. I've modeled from just north of Neuhemsbach to the south. When you first enter the train room, you see a rocky ridge that hides the north end staging yard of Bingerbrook. Staging is easily accessible by a swing panel or using a step stool to reach up and over the ridge. The track in the staging is Kato Unitrack, used for its reliability. There are 3 return loop tracks and 1 stub track. Outside of staging, the layout uses Pico Code 55 track. Leaving Bingerbrook southbound, we exit a tunnel through the ridge and approach the town of Neuhemsbach. Note the characteristic German semaphore signals on this route. The town is modeled closely after the real one, with the station siding, grain elevator, and a farm warehouse. The only modeling change is some compression and the single tracking the main line rather than the prototype's double track. Neuhemsbach was one of our favorite train watching spots, and we often caught the 7:30 special there. This train was a local passenger pulled by a Class 50 210-0. Hearing the steam chuff as it pulled away after the station stop made me a fan of German railways for life. To continue our tour, we'll follow another local southbound. This time, it's a BR 515 battery-powered railcar with a trailer car. These were often used on less trafficked lines. Leaving Neuhemsbach, we cross over the Alsens River and encounter some Army units on exercise. The Cold War was in full force during the 1970s, and each fall the military would conduct extensive maneuvers in the area. As we pass under a road bridge, you can see 2 rail fans by a parked Volvo station wagon. This was another fun train watching spot for us. Dad, my brother, and I would watch trains while my mom and sisters picked flowers nearby. We are now approaching the town of Enkenbach, passing Hager-Müller, a local foundry. The switch back to the industry siding is also the start of a branch line that heads into the hills and back towards the Rhine River. After Hager-Müller, we enter the station at Enkenbach. This was the closest rail station to the village where we lived, and we often caught trains here. Locals and semi-fast trains stop frequently, while express trains just pass on through. As the rail bus arrives, another local, this one pulled by a BR-23 262 steam engine, departs northbound. Enkenbach has a station track with a small freight station and a coal yard. Across the tracks from the station, there are two team tracks, one with a loading platform. The south end of town also has a farming co-op warehouse. The backdrop here in Enkenbach and that over by Neuhemsbach were hand-painted with acrylics, and then some printed photos of German homes, typical for the area, pasted on. Leaving Enkenbach, the line splits in two. The line towards the back heads under a road bridge and onto the city of Kaiserslautern, which is represented in staging. We'll see this later. The line to the front curves into a tunnel which heads under the Autobahn and over to the junction at Hochspeyer. The Altenhof Tunnel goes underneath the Autobahn A6, which stretches from Kaiserslautern to Mannheim on the Rhine. The Autobahns are famous for having sections with no speed limit, and slower cars need to quickly get out of the passing lane for faster cars. Anyone who has failed to do so will recognize the flashing lights of the sports car in the back. After passing under the Autobahn and exiting the Altenhof Tunnel, we arrive at Hochspeyer. Here, the Alsenstalbahn meets the Pfalzerbahn, which connects Kaiserslautern with the city of Mannheim. The Pfalzerbahn is part of a larger route between the heart of Germany and France. You can see everything from high-speed international expresses to slow coal trains winding through the hills and tunnels of this route. Our layout will eventually model the section from Hochspeyer to Ludwigshafen, including the stations of Lambrecht and Neustadt an der Weinstraße. Hochspeyer is laid out like the prototype town, but with the connection to Enkenbach entering from the west end of town instead of the east end. This was to eliminate any need for a duck under on the layout. The east end also shows the double-track main line heading to Kaiserslautern through the Heiligenberg Tunnel. Hochspeyer has no local industries, but there is a freight house here and a team track with a loading platform. There is also a small yard here, which allows through trains to drop cars for Enkenbach or Lambrecht that can be picked up later by locals for distribution. The background hills of the Pfalzerwald were modeled using different sizes and colors of clump foliage, glued directly to Woodland Scenic's shaper sheet over a foam framework. More detailed trees are then placed along the edge of the forest. On the Pfalzerbahn in Hochspeyer, we see the emergence of a more modern Deutsches Bundesbahn. Color light signals have replaced the semaphores. The main line is double-tracked for increased frequency of trains, and overhead catenary to allow the use of electric trains. I don't have the catenary installed here yet, but it is planned for the future. The frequency of passenger trains on this route can make moving freight a challenge. Here we see a 3-cylinder BR-44 taking advantage of a break in traffic to continue moving east. To continue our tour, we'll follow an eastbound commuter local. This train is pulled by a BR-141 electric locomotive. The cars are a mix of first and second class silverfish, nicknamed for their color and a faint scale-like appearance on the sides. The last car on the train has a driving cab, which allows for push-pull service. Leaving Hochspeyer, we plunge into the Schlossberg, or Castle Mountain Tunnel. Atop the hill, there are the ruins of Frankenstein Castle, named for the small village here, not the infamous doctor. This castle ruin gives some great views of the surrounding area and is a wonderful spot to video trains passing underneath. Coming through the tunnel, we pass by Frankenstein's church and graveyard. This scene is one I've wanted to model since I started modeling German railways. The contrast between the fast, electrified trains and the old church with the castle on the hill really resonates with me. Here we come to the end of the scenic areas for the layout. From here until staging is only temporary track to allow me to run trains. In this corner will be the town of Lambrecht with the Glatz paper factory. Here you can clearly see the benchwork for the layout. It is sectional benchwork kits I purchased from modelrailroadbenchwork.com. Especially like the curved sections they make. The sections are supported by either L girders or runners attached to the walls of the room. The cardboard is a mock-up of the backdrop that will be here, hiding the staging yards of Kaiserslautern and Mannheim. Trains will pass through a few tunnels, taking us to the town of Neustadt on the Weinstrasse. Neustadt will have a major passenger station, post office, freight house, and a small freight yard. Neustadt is also the site of a train museum that was founded in 1974, and this will allow us to run excursions with older trains on the layout. Leaving Neustadt, trains will wind through some vineyards and then arrive at Mannheim, our eastern staging yard. Mannheim Staging Yard is connected to the Kaiserslautern Staging Yard, which allows for continuous run operations. The entire Mannheim-Kaiserslautern staging complex will be hidden behind a low backdrop, but still allow for easy access. These staging yards are also built with Cato track as the other staging yard. The train controller software I use has a nice feature which allows us to automatically store more than one train per staging track if they fit. When the train in front leaves, the others will move up, leaving space in the rear. This is really helpful as you can always use more staging tracks than you really have. If you look to the left as you enter the train room, you'll see our current dispatching and control desk. The layout is controlled using train controller software from Freiwald Software of Germany. This software interfaces with the Digitrax command station and various detectors and stationary decoders around the layout. The use of train controller software allows for completely automatic control of trains, complete manual control, or any combination of the two. We take advantage of this by having the staging yards completely automatic. We can also run operations where we control freight trains and switching, while the computer runs the frequently scheduled passenger trains automatically. The software also allows us to use mobile devices as control panels and throttles. We have iPads that serve as control panels at Hochspeyer and Enkenbach. Mobile phones can be used as throttles, complete with in-cab signaling and monitoring of coal and water usage where appropriate. We also have the layout set up to do some operations. We use a car card and waybill system for freight forwarding. These car cards are modified from those used by Fremo in Europe. Each card has a picture of the car since it can be difficult to read road numbers in N-scale. The car card also shows the car type using standard European car designations. The shipping location, car lading, and destination are all on the card. Everything is in German as well as English, as is the case with all of my paperwork. Each town has a car card box with a slot for each industry or yard track. If a card in the box has a destination other than where it's currently located, it will get pulled for shipping. If it's already at its destination, it stays in the box as unloading is not yet complete. I will periodically switch out or turn cards in the boxes as needed. Earlier, as we passed by Neustadt, we mentioned that there was a train museum located there. My son and helper Ben has recently become interested in German steam engines from an earlier time. Having a train museum allows him to plausibly run some of these on the layout. Here we see a nice, streamlined BR 3.10 hauling some vintage coaches. This represents a train from era 2 or 3, the late 40s, early 50s. As our day ends, the lights come on in Enkenbach and Hochspeyer. And here we see a final passenger express headed to Saarbrücken. with connections on to Paris. We hope you've enjoyed this look at BD Kaiserslautern. You can follow layout developments on Facebook at BD Kaiserslautern. You can also get more information on European trains at ETE on Facebook or ete.org on the web. And to find out more about NMRA activities in Central New York, visit cnynmra.org.